Quinn, forced into a fake engagement with wealthy businessman Fred, finds herself drawn to him despite the pretense. However, their budding connection is threatened when Fred's young son accidentally starts a fire in their penthouse while trying to impress his father. As the fire alarm wailed, Quinn was left wondering about her situation. Had Jake just destroyed his father's home? Worse, had he endangered himself? As thick smoke began to billow from the kitchen, Jake's mind raced. What would his father do? Would Quinn come to help? And most importantly, could he escape the inferno he had inadvertently created?
What exactly have you done to this kitchen? Once Fred had batted the fire out with a kitchen towel and called the fire department about the false alarm, he couldn't help but notice the mess. It was atrocious. Eggshells and flour everywhere, including all over his 6-year-old son, Jake. The milk carton lay on its side, dripping onto the floor. Fred ran his hand through his hair. "Jake, what were you thinking, son?" was all he could say. Jake burst into tears. "I'm sorry, Dad. I wanted to cook you a special lunch just for you to say thank you for getting me a new mom. But I ruined the crepes, and I burned Chef Julian's hat. I thought I could flip them by myself." "Aw, buddy," answered Fred, scooping up his flour-coated child. "That was a really nice thought. Thank you. But this was dangerous, okay? You could have burned the whole house down." "I just wanted to make you the best yummy lunch you ever had," cried Jake, big tears rolling down his cheeks. "Tell you what," said Fred, wiping his son's face with Chef Julian's burned hat. "We'll clean the kitchen together, okay, sport? And then we can go shopping for a new hat to buy for Chef Julian. You will have to tell him you're sorry, okay? And you mustn't ever try to use the stove again without an adult. At least not until you're a little older." Jake nodded, rubbing his eyes. "How about this?" Fred proposed. "How about we call Quinn, Nora, Sammy, and Denny and see if they want to come over for dinner tonight? They'll want to see the place they're moving to anyway." "Yay!" said Jake, instantly cheering up. Fred dabbed his son playfully on the nose with some batter. "It's a deal. Now, let's clean up this mess, huh?" "It really is messy, isn't it, Dad?" laughed Jake. "Definitely," said his father. The scene was much less happy over at the Four Seasons Hotel, where Parker arrived to help his sister Beatrice check out after her estranged husband Fred had cut off her credit card and forced her to leave the extravagant presidential suite. "How many clothes did you need for just a few days?" groaned Parker, shutting the fifth of Beatrice's 11 suitcases. "One can never overpack, darling," offered Beatrice. "Besides, I'm sort of carrying my home on my back at the moment. Honestly, I'd have been thrown out of here yesterday had you not floated me for today. Thank you for that. I had to go handle some business," she added, her eyes narrowing at the memory of being shunned, even from the Fairy Forest Resort at Dragon World. "Perks of being a doctor, I guess," shrugged Parker. "I'm glad I could afford it. And you know you can stay at my place as long as you need to. It's just me in that whole big place." "You're the best, baby brother," said Beatrice as she smooched the air in his direction. "I tried Mom first, but as you know, her phone is disconnected." "Is it really?" asked Parker with concern. "Well, not in service is what the message said. That usually means disconnected, doesn't it?" Parker exhaled. "Not necessarily. It could mean that she traveled to some foreign country and didn't have international service. Wonder why she'd do that without even telling us," he pondered aloud. "She was pretty angry with me last time we spoke," admitted the discarded socialite. "I messed things up with Fred. She told me to go get him back. I tried everything I knew how to try, short of criminal harassment. And some courts might say I even crossed that line. I'm just going to have to move on." "Well, what's next then?" What's next for the fabulous Beatrice Sinclair? She sighed. I wish I knew. Right now, I just have to try to get through this divorce without ending up totally penniless. I'll think of something. I have to. It's not like I'm employable. The last job I had was a cocktail waitress, about 6 years ago. I'm not going back to that life, Parker. I won't. Of course you won't, he agreed. You're far too crafty. Touché, nodded Beatrice, as she tossed another armful of designer outfits onto the bed, ready to be packed. Later that same evening, after the kitchen had been cleaned up in the Smiths' penthouse, and Chef Julian had accepted both Jake's apology and a new chef's hat, Quinn and Fred's newly blended family happily gathered around one end of a very long table for dinner. Did you see, Mom? Yelled Sammy. There's a pool inside, and the water is nice and warm. We can go swimming whenever we want. There's a lock on that door, right? Quinn suddenly asked Fred. Absolutely, he said between bites of pasta, winking at Quinn and immediately understanding where her mind had gone with that. And I've never had my very own room before, added Sammy. Yeah, it's awful sharing with a girl, said Denny. Girls stink. Jake bumped Denny's fist. Boys, said Nora, the nanny. That's not nice. The boys both stifled their laughter. Sammy, suggested Fred. Why don't you and Nora go upstairs and look at your room again? And look at the furnishing catalogs on my office desk? You can help pick out the furniture for your room. Hey, how come she gets to pick out her own furniture? Protested Jake. There will be new furniture for everyone, explained Fred. You two boys each have your own room, and then there's Nora's room, and of course, your mom's room. If you two are getting married, then why does Mom need her own room? Asked Denny.
Fred watched Quinn interact with his son, a soft smile playing on her lips as she listened to Jake recount his culinary misadventures. He felt a warmth spread through him, a sense of contentment he hadn't experienced in years. But as he looked around the table, a question lingered in the air. What would happen next? Would this newfound happiness be fragile, easily shattered by the ghosts of the past? Would Beatrice find her footing in this uncertain new chapter? And what about Fred and Quinn? Could they truly build a lasting family, despite the complexities of their past and the looming shadow of Beatrice's imminent divorce?
Hey, I'm Jenny. If you're wondering what happens next, download the Pocket FM app now and listen to the exciting episodes of A Mother's Battle.